This week on Go the Star Yourself, we're talking about the star
of Chuck's performance in the 2017 animated holiday film The Star, starring Zachary Levi and roughly 100 other people. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. Hello, you're listening to Go the Star Yourself. My name is Chris Gillespie.
You should call yourself Father Chris Gillespie, because that was a great sermon, or I guess song. It sounded really good. You sounded really natural.
Maybe I should be called Father Christmas Gillespie.
That's even better, although I don't think that Santa is a priest. I was trying to imply that you sounded like a priest. Not that you sounded like Santa, but I don't know. Anyone can be Santa. That's what we learned from the Santa Claus.
Well, do you want to introduce yourself, my co-host?
Oh, did I not do that? My name is, I wish I had. Well, I can't really call myself Mrs. Claus.
Erin the Angel Arata.
Yeah, we could go with that. We could do, there's a lot of biblical names in this movie. There's not really like a name that goes well with Erin, though. Well, I mean, Aaron is a
Erin
is a famous biblical pirate.
Jesus, what are you gonna be doing there? You want to lift on my boat?
Yeah, so that's I guess that's who I am. That's Old Testament. That's the wrong Testament, but we'll go with that.
You heard it here first. Erin is referring to the Old Testament as the wrong Testament.
I don't mean generally speaking. I mean in the context of this film. This film is very New Testament heavy.
Yes, one can say that it's almost all New Testament. So you maybe know us from our other podcast, Go Chuck Yourself, where we usually talk about the television show Chuck year round. But this week we are starting a new podcast that is the Go the Star Yourself.
Yep.
The Star is, of course, one of the feature films starring Zachary Levi. So it's kind of connected to Chuck.
I want to be clear. We're not talking about A Star is Born. There is a star in this movie and someone is born, but this is not Go A Star is Born Yourself. This is Go the Star Yourself.
You'll never believe who's born in this movie. It's a big fucking deal.
We're going to hell.
Yes. Also, look, we're going to be talking about a movie that is a animated movie that is based on the nativity story. I don't think that we are going to be making fun of the nature of the nativity story. I think we're specifically going to be talking about the film and and how it executes whatever the source content is. So if this is something that you feel strongly about, then maybe this isn't for you. We don't mean any ill will. This is our holiday special. We're having fun. So I just wanted to put that out there to make sure that everyone knows that we're not coming out of a place of negativity.
Yes. My cousin is a priest, so you know that I support this.
And we're going to dial him up later in this episode.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We should do that. That
would have been, yeah, why didn't we think of that ahead of time?
All right, maybe we'll do it later. So, this is The Star. I thought, do you want to tell me a little bit about how you came to view The Star?
Yeah, so I want to talk about primarily a way that I could have seen The Star, maybe.
Okay. All right.
Was, I don't know if...
Were you trying to go see it and then one of your friends said he had an upset stomach, so you weren't able to go?
Too soon, Erin, too soon.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if this happens when you Google The Star, but I've been Googling The Star quite a bit in preparation for this episode. And something that has struck me before was that when you Google The Star, it would come up with movie times in my area for The Star.
Really?
And this film came out in November of 2017. Obviously there's also a pandemic going on, so movie theaters aren't really a tremendous thing at this point. If they're still open, I guess some movies are still being shown in theaters and they're doing social distancing or whatever. Yeah. But so when I Googled The Star, the showing that kept popping up that it wanted me to go to was a showing at the AMC theater in Clifton, New Jersey.
Okay.
On Saturday, December 12th. Yeah. At 5 a.m. And so I was looking at this and I kept seeing it. And I was like, are they really showing a movie at 5 a.m.? Because I know sometimes they show kids movies like earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And I was like, 5 a.m. Is that like a kids movie early in the day thing, but they're like spreading it out because of social distancing? So it's like really, really early. So to test that theory, I tried to purchase a ticket for the movie at 5 a.m. I had no anticipation. I did not want to go to it. But I found out pretty soon after I had already selected my seats on the theater's website. I got the best seats because there was no one else in the theater.
Of course.
But then there was an error message saying that all the tickets were no longer available or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But just Googling it now, I also am seeing another showing. Apparently, The Star is playing every day at 5 a.m. at the AMC South Bay Center in Dorchester, Massachusetts. So
great. Okay. So we're going to take a little trip.
The Star might be some kind of computer virus that's destroying AMC's website. But I would say, not that there's any movie that would be great to see at 5 a.m. Because depending on how far away you live from the theater, like it might take you a half hour to get to whatever your closest movie theater is. This movie's like an hour and 20 minutes long. So you go to the showing and be done and probably back in bed by 6:45, 7, depending on where that movie theater is. And I don't think, like I said, there's probably not any good movies to see in the theater at 5 a.m., but I'm confident that this is definitely not it because you would be asleep in 10 seconds.
Yeah, I thought when you were something that that is possible right now is to rent a movie theater for yourself and your viewing pleasure. And you and your party could be the only people there. So I was thinking that you were going to say that you had considered renting out an AMC or an Alamo Drafthouse solely to watch The Star alone.
That could have made it. That could have actually made it a fun viewing to watch this movie. But I feel like probably pretty expensive if they're trying to expect me to bail out the movie theater industry. I feel like they probably need a lot of money. I don't think
it's that bad, like comparatively speaking, to city movie prices. Am I right?
Ooh.
But I've heard it's like reasonably priced. I haven't. We thought about doing it for Wonder Woman 1984, but it didn't come to pass.
No.
But probably The Star is like one of the movies that they have, especially since it's Christmas time. You probably could do this.
I guess so. What was your experience like viewing The Star?
So I watched The Star yesterday as of this recording, and I already had plans with a group of friends to watch Zemeckis' A Christmas Carol, where Jim Carrey is Scrooge and all three of the ghosts. So yesterday I woke up, we drove to get our Christmas tree. That was something that we did yesterday. We picked out a tree, then we realized we needed cash, so we went to get cash, then we bought the tree, then we brought the tree home, we brought it up the stairs, we decorated the tree, we took a brief pause from Christmas activities to light our menorah, then we went right back. We watched A Christmas Carol, and then immediately, as soon as Christmas Carol was over, I said, okay, time to watch The Star. So then I watched The Star. Seth was in the room. He was not completely watching it with me. But yesterday, you could say, was a very Christmas-heavy day.
Mm-hmm. And you were able to, it sounded like you have a busy day, you were able to stay awake for the duration of The Star.
Yeah, you, as you just said, and in your text to me, you expressed some worry that I would not be able to stay awake for the runtime of The Star. The Star was fine. It was A Christmas Carol that I actually had trouble staying awake during.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never seen that. How was that?
Well, it's just, it's literally just A Christmas Carol. Like, it is just an adaptation. Like, you'd think having Jim Carrey as your star, there would be some, like, Jim Carrey weirdness, but it was really just a straight adaptation. It was, like, it had less stuff than any other Christmas Carol I've ever seen.
Really?
It felt like a, community theater production, really.
Where the entire community is Jim Carrey?
Yes, of course. There was, if you watch it on Disney Plus, there is like an extra section that has deleted scenes, and the deleted scenes are like they haven't finished rendering them, so they look kind of like someone described them as like the Harry Potter desktop game that used to be around. They just look so bad. But we're not talking about A Christmas Carol. We're talking about... No, well, I was going to say we're talking about A Christmas Story, but that's a different movie. We are talking about the original story of Christmas.
The origins of Christmas.
Yes, the origins of Christ.
We are putting the Christ back into Christmas. God damn it.
The reason for the season.
So the star, a little bit of context. This movie came out, was released on November 17th, 2017.
Just in time for Christmas.
Just in time. They had a budget of $20 million, and the box office returns were 62.8, so just about $63 million. So it was not a box office bomb by any means. It actually...
No, it did pretty well.
Tripled its budget, so that's a success. The director is Timothy Reckart, who is not someone that...
not a household name,
no.
But he did win or was nominated for an Oscar by Head Over Heels, which is a short.
Huh.
That's his claim to fame, I guess. But I don't know if you saw this, but this film was originally developed by the Jim Henson Company in the 90s, which is pretty crazy. And originally they were planning to do it as live action, as in, like, they were inspired by Babe. So I don't know if you can imagine, like, first of all, that would have cost so much more money. But second of all, like, I don't know. It's hard to imagine this live action.
I was going to say, it's hard to imagine this being less entertaining than it already is. So I want to give but if it's Jim Henson, do they want to use puppets for the live action?
I don't know.
You think they went the whole Babe approach of the talking animals?
I would imagine they would do something like Babe, where it's like partially puppets for the parts that they couldn't use live animals, but like it was the 90s, so that was more common back then.
Well, here's the thing. If they're going to have the main character be this donkey, I'll get it out in the open now. This donkey, he's adorable. He's a very cute little donkey.
He's very cute. Yes, I agree.
I don't know if baby donkeys are this cute in real life. They probably aren't, but he's not Nestor. Don't call him Nestor. He's not the Christmas donkey. He's a different Christmas donkey, and his name is Bo, which is short for Boaz.
What about Dominic the donkey? That's a Christmas donkey, right?
Dominic the donkey is also a Christmas donkey.
Dominic the donkey, the Italian Christmas song in parentheses. In Italy. This is Go the Star Yourself, obviously, but Go Chuck Yourself really supports all things Italian.
Right. Verdict is out on whether or not Go the Star Yourself is as Italian centric.
I mean, probably the Pope is going to boycott us, so I don't know about. Well, I guess he's not in Italy though. We've established that.
Hey, all press is good press. Am I right? If we get banned,
that's true.
We get sanctioned by the Pope, then. Also, this was written by Carlos Kotkin, who I think is a ghost. He doesn't really seem to have too many movies under his belt. Seems like he participated in The Moth. I
thought you were going to say The Mob.
No.
The Moth, like the radio program.
Yes.
Okay.
Seems like if he has a book maybe that he put out, his book is called...
He doesn't sound like a ghost to me, Chris. Sounds like he's done a lot of things.
I guess so.
Assuming a Christian man?
I don't know.
Okay, what's his book? Sorry.
His book is Please God, Let It Be Herpes.
Well, that does reference God.
Right.
But I do have some questions.
It's about his tales of being, I guess, dating and having issues with dating and that kind of thing.
All right, cool, okay.
I don't know. So that's his deal.
So that's the writer of The Star.
Apparently someone was like, hey, this book's really funny about STDs and dating people.
And we should let you write the nativity story. An animated children's nativity story. You ever seen VeggieTales, Chris?
I have not, but I feel like it's probably a lot like this movie.
Yes, I would definitely say that it is like this movie.
So you've seen VeggieTales then?
I have seen VeggieTales. It's been a long time, but that was, I did grow up with a lot of Christian friends. This is where I was at as a child. I didn't realize that VeggieTales was Christian until I was like way older. I guess my life was just so Christian at that point that I was like, yes, they are just telling normal stories.
It's weird that they're vegetables. And
yeah, it is weird. Okay, so we should get this out of the way because it's gonna come up. I am a confirmed Catholic. Chris is a hedonistic atheist. I don't know what you are. Am I calling you out here?
I guess I would be a Catholic dropout. I dropped out before the confirmation period. Mm-hmm. So former Catholic, I guess.
I feel like when I met you, this was a point of contention. I don't remember why, but I remember being like, Chris is one of those.
You judging me?
I guess I was.
That's fine.
Do we have to talk about our relationship to religion and Christianity? Is that like something that we should address here?
I mean, I don't have one, which is why the X part of it was, it never really connected with me in any significant way.
I would say I am a confirmed Catholic, but as of now, I do not have much of a relationship to the nativity story, other than that I have heard it a bunch of times. I do celebrate Christmas. We are this year also celebrating Hanukkah because Seth is Jewish. And so I know this story very well. I think most people know it very well. As the credits call it, it is the greatest story ever told. So that's where I'm coming from this movie. But I do have I typically have issues with what I might say aggressively religious movies, movies that are solely based in religion and telling religious stories and including like praying and God and the angel Gabriel and all those things is a little bit iffy for me. So I had iffy feelings going into this movie.
This movie is not, I'm not the intended audience for this movie.
No, absolutely not. Neither of us are. They have made it clear in many interviews. The director said, our audience for this movie is Christian people. We don't really expect like general audiences to be interested.
No.
And there are kind of some interesting reviews. You can read a interview with Lights Camera Jackson. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but they discuss specifically like how balancing like religion with like comedy and appealing to audiences. They talk about the Exodus film that didn't do very well with Christian audiences. They talk about how their approach with this was basically to appeal to Christians and people who are seeing Christian movies, and they were not as concerned with other audiences, which is fair enough. Yeah. They know their audience, it seems like their audience showed up.
Yeah, they showed up $60 million worth of show up. There's an audience for this kind of thing and it connects with people. So, and then there's people like us who, Zachary Levi is in this movie. And last year we did Go Shazam Yourself for our holiday special. And Shazam is also holiday related. So this seemed like the natural fit for this year's holiday special. Yeah. We're here for the Zachary Levi. And we're staying for the talking camels.
Yes, so that's true.
Zachary Levi is not the only celebrity in this film. There is it may be called The Star, but it's really a sky full of stars, if you ask me. You got Stephen Yun is the main character. He's Boaz the donkey. You have
known as Bo.
Keegan-Michael Key, who is Dave the dove.
Great performance.
Academy Award-winning performance as Dave the Dove. Adie Bryant is Ruth the sheep. Ving Rhames and Gabriel Iglesias are the bad guys who are...
I was really excited when I saw Ving Rhames was in this.
They're bad dogs, I guess. This is the craziest part to me, and I don't understand. There's 3 camels, and the 3 camels, one of them is played by Tracy Morgan. Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. Pretty standard animated comedy
Camel.
fare.
Yep.
Yeah. The next 2 camels are Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, that checks out to me.
Just 2.
I don't know why you're confused.
2 gigantic media moguls in these very small supporting roles as these camels.
The casting director mentions in interviews like that they had a list of like many people for these roles, and like Oprah and Tyler Perry were at the top of the list, but they fully expected to go down several names. And then they just heard back, like, Tyler and Oprah were just like, yeah, sure, okay.
And then Patricia Heaton from Everybody Loves Raymond, Kelly Clarkson from Being Kelly Clarkson, Anthony Anderson, Kristen Chenoweth, Gina Rodriguez, Zachary Levi, of course, Christopher Plummer. And then we also have cameo appearances from Chris Christopherson, Mariah Carey she has a song in it, but I guess she also has a voice. Yeah,
I would assume.
And
that she does both.
Joel Osteen is Joel Osteen, that guy. He's one of the three wise men. And I just wanted to say that back in kindergarten during our Christmas pageant, I was one of the three wise men myself.
Wow. Yeah. Do you know which one you were?
Well, let's see. We have Caspar, Balthasar, and Melchior. I don't know if those are the actual names. I think
I've heard those names before.
I don't think I had gold. I don't think I was presenting gold to the baby Jesus. I think I have no idea. I don't remember if I was giving him frankincense or myrrh, but I was not enthused because gold seemed like the cool gift to have. And I was like, here, you want some myrrh?
That's really nice. That's a good story. I don't think I was ever in a Christmas pageant.
No. I was also in a Thanksgiving pageant in first grade. I was the narrator.
Did your school, I was thinking about this recently. My school in, I think, second grade did two plays, just like our classes combined to put on plays. And it was the story of Louis Braille and then another one of Helen Keller. And that was just like the plays that we did. And I never, like, is that kind of weird? Dude, like, those are obviously very important stories and very, like, active figures that it's important to know about. But it was a little strange that those were the plays that we did.
It's a little strange, but I guess it's nice to be telling those stories instead of other things that are...
Instead of the Cat in the Hat. Instead of Christmas. All right, so you want to talk plot?
Yeah, let's skim through this plot.
Okay, so we start with the title card 9 months BC, which initially made me say, fuck you, the star. But then I kind of thought about it more, and I was like, that's actually kind of clever. It's kind of, I understand what BC and AD mean, but I feel like this is weird, because like AD is like when Jesus dies, and BC is like before Jesus is alive. So this period of Jesus's life, I don't know what it's called. C? I don't know, but it was a cute joke. Pentatonic starts the movie. That was
the first red flag for me.
Yeah. I was not at all surprised to hear them. I did not know they were coming, but once it started, I said, okay, this feels like exactly what I think was happening.
This for me was like when you're in the roller coaster and you're like going up the first hill and you're like, I don't know if I should have done this. This seemed like a good idea at the time, but now I'm kind of scared.
Yeah.
I don't like a cappella music.
It also bears addressing the cast a little too white, I would say. Not the actors are like fine, relatively diverse, but Mary and Joseph looking they're not blonde, so that is an improvement on the cardboard Bible I had growing up, but they do have blue eyes and they do have very Caucasian features, so just, throwing that out there.
Yeah, I was gonna touch upon that later, but okay. We could discuss it now. That did stand out to me as like, this is obviously an issue. God, through thousands of years of history of whitewashing and this kind of religion thing of being like, oh, well, they're white. So, and then the baby Jesus is born and he's blonde. Mary is very Caucasian looking. Joseph is at least like a little bit tan, but still overall.
They have curly hair as opposed to straight blonde hair, so that's like kind of an improvement, but it just like looks like they have colorless skin, basically.
Yeah.
They're just very white.
Yeah.
Which was like a little bit disappointing because we have had some like religious things. The Shack comes to mind, which has a Middle Eastern man playing Jesus. We've had we've had like pushes towards that recently. So I was a little disappointed that the star did not have more the human characters looking as people of color, but that's fine.
Especially as you said, the cast itself is actually very diverse. But that is not reflected on the screen.
So we have a pygmy Jeroba, or you could just call it a mouse, is watching as Mary is told by the angel. They don't really establish who this is, but the angel Gabriel shows up. The nativity story is like, you're gonna have a baby, shines light on her, which is like, I guess, the conception, and then this pygmy Jeroba named Abby is watching on and then runs off to tell all the little animals about what just happened. So that's how the movie starts.
Yep.
So then we fast forward 6 months, and we meet our hero, Bo, who is a miller's donkey. He's dissatisfied with life. He has a friend named Dave, who I thought was a pigeon, but is actually a dove. And their dream is to be part of the royal caravan so that Bo can have a king ride on his back, which seems to be a problem because he's a very small donkey. I don't really think he could support like a full-grown man.
Yeah, we're told that he's young, and we see that he's young, so presumably he's going to grow over time, and maybe he'd be able to support a king. But yeah, he kind of comes across as like this kind of like pygmy donkey, where I'm like, maybe he's like a miniature donkey. But then he also carries Mary when she's 9 months pregnant, and
that's true.
It doesn't break his back.
She's a small woman, though.
I don't know. She was pretty big.
Okay.
Jesus was a big baby.
It's an interesting... So, like, obviously what they're going for is, like, he's going to carry Mary and Jesus is a king, blah, blah, blah. But, like, it's kind of a weird, like, desire to be, like, my goal in life is to be ridden on by a king. I guess I'm not a donkey, so I can't say, like, what donkeys are thinking. But it's, I don't know, a little bit of a weird want. So Mary heads from... I don't know where she was, but she goes to marry Joseph. And she has to reveal to him that she is with God's child, the Son of God, Jesus.
Yikes!
They don't. There's a little bit of an awkward moment, but
she like travels to Joseph's house for like their marriage / like the marriage party kind of thing.
Yeah,
and then after it's over, she's like, "By the way," and then you're like, "Oh shit, she's 6 months pregnant."
Yeah. During this time, Bo escapes from, he has an old donkey friend at his, miller's, and he escapes. He manages to get away from the miller in a chase sequence. Him and Dave arrive, they manage to stumble into Mary and Joseph's, like, yard, and Bo is injured, so Mary tends to him, which is a moment that is kind of her save the cat moment. I don't know. Maybe her save the cat moment is when she agrees to give birth to the Son of God, but she also helps a donkey, so that's nice. We also learn that when animals are speaking, they are making their animal noises, so humans can't understand them. This isn't like a Dr. Dolittle kind of situation.
No, it's all the animals speak the same universal animal language, and humans do not understand it.
So this is where we start to get into something that is going to be a theme throughout the movie. We meet Joseph, as I've said, played by Zachary Levi, and he seems a little bit... You could say he doesn't really like the donkey. It's verging on he is threatened by the donkey. He's not really into Mary keeping Bo around.
There's a weird degree of jealousy there, I guess. But I guess wouldn't you be having issues if your fiance, your bride-to-be, comes over and like, hey, I'm excited to get married. By the way,
Joseph is kind of having a crisis. Around here is where we meet the aforementioned camels. There's Felix, Cyrus, and Deborah, which I actually don't know. Deborah is definitely a biblical name. I don't know about Felix and Cyrus, but these are the Tyler Perry, Tracy Morgan, and Oprah Winfrey characters. They are being ridden upon by the wise men, and they go to the home of King Herod, which is a pretty good performance that's Christopher Plummer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they express that they are bringing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh to the new king, which is news to Christopher Plummer, and he basically kidnaps the camels and the wise men into his palace, and then is like, I'm gonna send... So this is kind of dark. I don't know if this was going on, but he sends a man to, like, capital K kill Mary with his, like, vicious dogs, who are Ving Rhames and Gabriel Iglesias. And there's no, like, a lot of kids movies will kind of, like, beat around the bush a little bit of, like, oh, he's going to, like, kidnap Mary, he's going to, like, bring her back, and there's kind of, like, a sinister vibe, but this is, like, he has a big knife, and he's, like, going after her. He's gonna kill her and her unborn child.
Yeah, he's a big, scary dude that doesn't talk, that has the two...
No, he does not talk.
The two dogs that also don't talk, but also want to kill...
They talk!
Oh, well, they don't... I mean, they do their animal talk, but it's not like the dogs talk to him, you know?
Oh, no. Which is weird, because he uses them to track Mary, and throughout the movie, it's like, the dogs are really kind of leading the show, because they, like, talk to Abby, the pygmy Droba. They talk to Bo. And like, so I don't know how he's communicating with these dogs. It seems like a lot of trust is just placed on like their sense of smell. But I don't know. Whatever, it's fine. This guy has a weird relationship to his dogs and he wants to kill Mary.
Yes, there's this very strange contrast between the nice little donkey and all the talking animals and the Christmas, and then also this very scary man who wants to murder Mary, pregnant Mary, with a machete. This kind of strange dichotomy that did not really work well in my mind. So Mary and Joseph, they have to leave Nazareth, which is where they are, in order to head to Bethlehem for the census, which I felt like I connected with this, like it's a census year. I filled out the census, and this movie kind of made me thankful that all I had to do was log onto a website and answer a few questions for the census instead of having to travel in the middle of the desert to go to a different city.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess that's how they had to do the census. I'm kind of intrigued by the logistics of biblical time census. Maybe I'll look into that. But
yeah, it is kind of I was thinking this as I was watching it. This is a part of the story that I feel like I just kind of take for granted, but it is like kind of weird that something so like bureaucratical and like or bureaucratic, I guess would be the word, is like a huge part of the Christmas story and the story of Jesus's birth, and this like huge religious moment is just like affected by this thing that we still do today. And it's just like, yeah, we filled out some stuff.
Yeah, it's a very mundane basis for the rest of the story.
Kind of seems like I don't want to do God's job for him, but maybe he could have like impregnated Mary a little later so they didn't have to deal with the census.
Yeah, it's kind of
just an idea.
So with Joseph and Mary out of town, like Bo thinks he's going to escape, or like Dave is trying to convince him to escape so they can go find the royal caravan. But then the evil dogs find Bo, and there's this whole thing where they sniff Bo's bandage that Mary gave him, and then they get Mary's scent. So then they go after him, and then Bo and Dave realize they need to go after them so they can save Mary. So they head out on their big journey down the road, and they immediately meet a friendly sheep who's named Ruth, who left the flock. So something that's important to mention is that since Mary had the divine conception, there's been
we forgot about the star.
The angel Gabriel, who's basically just a beam of pure like a being of pure energy, created the star, like the Christmas star as well. That's been like causing all these animals to act weird, and they're all obsessed with the star because it's so bright. Yeah, and it's allegedly growing brighter over time. So maybe it's like a supernova or like a star that's hurtling.
Yeah, maybe they're in danger.
So anyhow, Ruth is this sheep. She's played by Eddie Bryant. She's like the annoying character. I don't know. This movie is just like all of these archetypes of these animated.
It seems like Jenny Slate should be playing her, but isn't.
Right. Just like
that's kind of my take on her.
Quirky kind of sheep character. They have this whole thing where the sheep teaches Bo how to walk down a cliff, which is a very long sequence and not very interesting, and also seems very unnecessary. Because you're like, really? There was no other way for him to get down this hill besides going down this very elaborate cliff.
Nope.
But it turns out that it's important that he learned how to do this cliff walking later in the movie.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So eventually they catch up with Joseph and Mary in time to try to warn them that the dogs are coming for them. And this is taking place at a marketplace. The hunter is also there with the dogs. And this is kind of the moment where I was like, yeah, this is kind of a strange tension in this movie, because the hunter like throws his machete at Mary and like misses narrowly. And like destroys the market. And I was like, this is kind of a lot for a kid's movie. So he like destroys Bo, and the hunter like destroy the market, and Joseph sees Bo doing this and thinks that Bo caused all of his problems, and dislikes Bo even more and is potentially sexually threatened by Bo.
I'm glad you were picking up on this vibe too.
I wasn't while I was watching it, but as soon as you addressed it, I was like, yeah, that is kind of what's going on.
It's weird, because I feel like if Bo was a human character, that would definitely be the vibe of like he's like threatened by this other male's presence in his wife's life. But because like this is a story of animals and because they have to have like some point of contention, it's just like this weird kind of thing that is unaddressed but seems to be the vibe that Joseph is just like doesn't like that his wife's hanging around this baby donkey.
So
it's kind of like Beethoven, I guess, like, or like any movie where like the dad gets like there's like a new pet that is wreaking havoc on the dad's life, and he's like, oh, why does my wife and kids love this large dog? But a little even weirder.
There's like, this is obviously very hard for Bo because he's trying to save Mary and he doesn't know why Joseph doesn't like him. So we enter what is, I was assuming was the end of Act 2. This kind of seems like the moment in the conventional hero's journey where all hope is lost. Keep in mind,
I did say that. I announced to Seth, we are at the end of Act 2 now.
Which seems
all is lost.
odd because we were like 45 minutes into the movie. And I was like, this seems like this is happening way too soon, but okay. So now you're probably wondering, well, how did they get out of all hope is lost? It's easy. They, Bo and Dave find the royal caravan and they can join it. But then Bo realizes that he doesn't want to join the royal caravan. He'd rather be with Mary. And Dave needs a little bit of convincing, but really not that much convincing because once again,
he's just kind of like, you're my friend, buddy. It's a kid's movie. They can't have two dark things except for the man with the machete.
Right. It's a kid's movie that has almost no conflict in it besides one very disturbing instance of conflict, which is a man trying to murder a pregnant woman with a machete. And the other conflict, which is this weird kind of sexual tension between a man and his donkey. Other than that, between the characters, between the animals, no conflict. There's obviously the dogs are trying to get to Bo, but even that is, kind of negligible. So Dave is really easily convinced that they should go back and find Mary and Joseph. So Mary at this point is like fully 9 months pregnant, walking through the desert. They have a wagon that Joseph has been like wheeling behind, but he's not wheeling like Mary in the wagon.
Yeah, because it would be too heavy for him, but it's not too heavy for Bo.
Right. Then Bo and Dave end up finding Ruth again because they also had a falling out with Ruth where Bo was like, I don't want to be friends with you because you're annoying. And she's like, oh. And then they end up, Bo, Dave, and Ruth end up meeting up again with Mary and Joseph when like their wagon breaks and Joseph's like, I don't know what we're going to do. And then Bo's like, I'm here.
And he prays. You got to bring up the praying. There's a lot of praying in this movie.
There's a lot of praying in this movie.
Joseph prays for help because he doesn't know how they're going to get to Bethlehem, whatever. And
it's convenient because it covers a lot of different plot holes that might be happening. It's kind of a Deus Ex Machina situation, literally.
Well, of course, yeah.
Because God is literally intervening with the plot of the movie.
Yes.
So Mary's starting to have like contractions, like she's like super pregnant. So Bo offers to have her ride on his back as they head into Bethlehem, and they arrive at Bethlehem. And wouldn't you know it, all the inns are full. They can't find a place to stay because of the census.
I never would have seen this coming.
No, it's kind of like there's this big, because this was also the census, I guess, was really what drew me into this movie and the kind of logistics surrounding it. Because I was like, yeah, this would suck if I just walked through the desert. And you're like, of course, all the inns are booked. I should have thought of this ahead of time. I should have planned. There's nowhere to stay. So they're having a hard time. They can't really find anywhere to stay. And all of this is magnified because you know who also is in Bethlehem for the census?
Who's there?
The miller.
Oh shit.
Bo's previous owner who he escaped from. He's also there doing the census because once again, everyone needs to be there for the census.
Yeah.
And it is a sad situation because the miller takes Bo away from his friends and locks him up in a stable.
So in the stable, Bo meets a horse named Leah, a cow named Edith, and a goat named Zach. They bring us back to the fact about the star, and they say that the star has been shining so brightly onto their stable that none of them have been able to sleep. Bo sees that there is, I guess, like I should know what this is called as a like person who's seen a lot of nativity sets, but like a trough? What is that thing? Like
the little thing, the little manger.
That's what the manger is called?
Yeah, I think so.
Hold on, I gotta look up what is manger. Oh, that's the manger. I always thought the manger was like the
stable.
I guess, yeah, but no, the manger is that thing. So it's like the little thing that you put hay in, whatever. It's a little bed for Jesus. It's Jesus's bed. Bo puts together from the fact that the star is shining that this is where Jesus is supposed to be born, or I guess the baby, he doesn't know it's Jesus yet, but where Mary's baby is supposed to be born. So he hightails it right out of the barn. He climbs over. Leah, Edith, and Zach make a little tower for him to climb over. He escapes from the barn. He reconnects with Ruth and Dave. They find Joseph and Mary and get them back to the stable, which is great. Everything is good. This should be the act 3. Everything is okay. But what happens? There's another act 2 all is lost moment when the hunter and his dogs are in the city and they are hot on Mary's tail. Ready to kill her as she's down for labor. They're gonna come in there and cause some problems. So Ruth goes and finds her flock, which is a kind of like a backloading of this plot of like Ruth's like the odd like the I guess the black sheep, you could say. She's not a black sheep, but she's she decided to follow the star where it led, and her flock was not okay with that. So there's this kind of thing where she's like, oh, I'm nervous to see my flock again, which is not something we've heard about anywhere else in the movie. But
and also this,
it does happen.
The subtext of like when you have a religious belief that no one else in your community agrees with, and that they're encouraging Ruth to say like, you should follow the star and do that, even though if the rest of your community doesn't agree. There's this also that kind of weird undercurrent going on of Ruth being a proto-Christian in this moment.
And she is rewarded for that behavior because she shows up to her flock and the angel makes a big flash of lightning thing. And then all the flock is like, we have proof of God. Now we will follow you. So like, that seems like something God could do if he wants everybody to follow him. He did it here. So
it was a weird choice, I thought, because I was like, really, out of all these different instances, you're going to intervene by communicating with a flock of sheep? Like, you're not going to say, like, strike down the evil king or strike down the hunter who's trying to murder Mary. You're going to go with the approach of communicating with a flock of sheep. Okay.
Yeah.
But it works. But who am I to say it doesn't work? It worked.
Yeah. So while the flock of sheep is rushing into Bethlehem to help, Bo is facing off with the dogs and the hunter. He is able to take down the dogs, but the hunter ultimately overpowers Bo because it is a human man with a machete. He is about to strike Bo down when Ruth and her flock and the camels and Dave and all the animals just show up and they push the hunter back, so he stumbles off of a cliff. A cliff is back. This is where all of that information in that very long scene is going to come into play. So the hunter is hanging off of the cliff with his dogs hanging from their ropes, and this is a kid's movie, so this isn't going to happen, but the dogs should have been, like, choked to death from the way that they were hanging. Like, I don't know if you were thinking about that. I was thinking about it. It's very much like noose kind of situation. Like, they're being strangled, but they're fine. They're okay. Bo is able to climb down the cliff, learn it using what he learned previously, and he offers a stick to help the dogs, and then, like, by implication, the hunter as well. He doesn't want them to die for their mistakes. The hunter is not willing to accept the help of a donkey holding a stick, which is kind of, valid on his part. So he releases his dogs in order to be able to climb up and not have the dead weight of two strangling dogs below him. But then the cliff breaks and the hunter falls to his death. And we see it. We see him fall and hit the ground. It's pretty intense.
I mean, two things. Like, so I initially, when I saw the villain at first, I was like, I bet he's probably going to fall off a cliff, because I feel like that is the kids' movie animated trope of getting rid of villains. Where it's like the person, like, they're dead, but they fell off of this thing, so maybe they're not dead. You're like, well, they're probably dead. So it's like, he's probably no one is actually going to kill anyone in this movie, but he's probably going to fall off of something and die. So I felt validated by that. But now also talking to you, I feel like this is also another kind of allegory, or the subtext in the scene is kind of that, like, Bo as the proto-Christian character is offering forgiveness to the non-Christian characters, and the ones that accept his forgiveness and join him are the ones that are saved and are okay, and anyone who does not accept that forgiveness and is not willing to join that thought, that belief system.
I think that's absolutely what they're going for.
You fall off a cliff and die.
In the next scene, the dogs decide to be good dogs, so Bo helps them up off of the cliff using he had learned how to like be a wedge between like two rock faces, and he uses that skill to like pull them back up. So everything is okay. They all head to the stable and they crowd around this newborn baby. All these hot, sweaty animals that have just gone through a trauma are just gathered around. Everybody's okay with it. They're not carrying diseases. It's fine. The wise men arrive to give their gifts. We find the baby Jesus, and the people in this movie look fine. They're like, it's CGI. The animals look best, but the people are okay. But the baby Jesus looks like shit. I'm just gonna say it.
Kind of looks like Boss Baby.
Yeah, he kind of does. Well, that would make sense because it's the same. That's also Sony, right?
I don't know. It might be DreamWorks. I thought you were gonna say it makes sense.
Oh, I think it's DreamWorks.
Jesus is the original Boss Baby.
Yes, Jesus is the original Boss Baby. That's a good point.
I would also like to point out here that Mary just gave birth. She was totally silent the entire time. And also,
yeah, she didn't yell.
There is no blood or placenta or anything, and Mary looks totally fine. I would wager, I have never had a baby myself, but Mary is cleaner here than I have ever been in my entire life.
She's wearing a white dress, too. Like, it's
spotless. Yeah, she's totally fine. Baby Jesus, totally clean. There was nothing anywhere. Everyone is good. Yeah, I think she just sat down and just plopped him out, and he was okay.
Yeah, she says it's time, and then she didn't mean like it was time for labor. She just meant like the baby is going to come out now, and then then he came out. Yeah. It was fine. So we have some wrap-ups of all the through lines of the movie. We realize, Bo realizes that he has in fact carried a king on his back. He carried the unborn King Jesus. So great for him. And the camels have a nice little moment where Deborah, played by Oprah Winfrey, is validated. They were having an argument earlier in the movie about whether it was a birthday, a baby shower, or the resurrection of God. And it turns out to be all three. And that's pretty much it. We get the credits. There's scenes of Jesus's life as a child. Like there's them going back to Nazareth. There's Jesus being a carpenter with his dad, as a baby. He's working on some wood, whatever. Seth asked me if I thought that the credit art was going to end with an adult Jesus on the cross, which I think would have been a nice touch, but this isn't an Easter film. This is not The Star 2, so maybe the next one.
The Star Part 2.
Yeah.
I guess also it's, according to our notes, it says that Bo helps raise Jesus in the cutscenes or during the credits. So that conflict, I think we're led to believe that Joseph has warmed up to Bo over the course of this movie and he's fine with it, but
he's kind of in a polyamorous relationship with his wife and a donkey. They're both raising, they're co-parenting. It's a 3-parent kind of situation.
They're in a polyamorous relationship with his wife and a donkey, and he's raising the son of God. It's just one of those classic stories.
Mm-hmm. It's from the Bible.
Yeah. Obviously Bo would probably age and die much sooner than all of the humans in this case.
Yeah, that's probably what the conclusion that Joseph came to is just this donkey's gonna be dead before I am. So
I was thinking earlier too, when they were really having the conflict between Joseph and Bo, that I was realistically at this time, Joseph probably would have just killed Bo, right? If you were someone living in this time period historically, you have an animal that's misbehaving, you would just kill it and eat it.
Yeah.
Instead of being
a baby on the way.
Yeah. He's not gonna be oh no, I gotta empathize with the donkey. No, times are tough when you're living in Israel at the I was gonna say turn of the century, but I guess the start of the first century. I don't know. The
century, yeah.
The calendars are weird. Year one. I don't know who decided that. It seems pretty arbitrary.
So I have a couple things I wanted to bring up. The first thing chronologically is did you notice the note in the credits? Did you watch that far into the credits?
I did not watch that far into the credits.
Okay. So after the last image of Bo helping to raise Jesus, there is a director's note, I guess you would call it, where they say that basically we've had a lot of fun making this movie. We've tried to make it light, but we were trying to appeal to, as they refer to it, the greatest story ever told and its general mood, and not appeal to Christianity. They basically say hey, we had some fun here, but this one's for the Christians. So it was very funny. It was a very strange little note to see after visions of baby Jesus.
It's also kind of strange that they would put that after the movie when everyone who was not enjoying the film would have already left instead of having that at the beginning. I don't know.
Yeah, it would be interesting if it was at the beginning. My next thing, the Star, the song sung by Mariah Carey over these credits, was nominated for an Oscar, and it did lose to This Is Me from The Greatest Showman.
I did not think the song was that good. I thought it would have...
The Star. I don't know how it went.
This is what I think. Kelly Clarkson is the voice of Leah the horse in this. Why don't you just have Kelly Clarkson do the song? She's in the movie.
Well, I think Mariah Carey requested to do it. That's what I had read.
Oh.
So she wanted in. And they referred to her as the Queen of Christmas because of All I Want for Christmas Is You. So at least it's not pentatonics.
I guess so.
Again.
Okay. Kelly Clarkson's got a Christmas album too, though. It's a little, I would say it's as good, if not better, than Mariah Carey's Christmas work.
All right, so let's talk Christmas songs. Either Christmas songs in this movie or just Christmas songs in general. Best and worst. What do you think?
Worst Christmas song is Dominic the Donkey.
Oh, well, I was going to say Mary Did You Know, which is in this movie. I think that song sucks.
Okay. That's also, it's
pretty bad.
Pretty bad. So now the best Christmas songs?
Best Christmas song. My favorite Christmas song is very much of the consumerism Christmas and not the Jesus Christmas.
Sure.
So if you want me to pick a different one, I can, but I really like Silver Bells.
Yeah, I kind of I like those ones. I like the when you have the pop musicians doing Christmas songs too. I like the Elton John Christmas song and the Paul McCartney Christmas song.
Of course, Josh Groban Christmas songs like Bublé.
Well, not all of them. I wasn't saying I liked all of the pop star ones. I was just saying.
You love Michael Bublé, of course.
Well, I have an activity here for you as someone who is a host of Go Chuck Yourself and Go the Star Yourself.
Okay, I wonder if this is the same thing. I was going to bring up something, so I wonder if it's the same thing.
Okay. I'm going to name actors from Chuck, and you have to cast them in roles in this movie.
Oh, okay. This wasn't what I was going to bring up.
Okay. So Zachary Levi, I guess, is already Joseph, so we'll give you that one.
Okay.
Yvonne Strahovski.
I mean, Mary, obviously.
Okay. Adam Baldwin.
She could. I feel like it. Oh, Adam Baldwin. Adam Baldwin would be good in the Ving Rhames role, I think.
Okay.
Or the Hunter, because the Hunter kind of grunts. That's the majority of his vocal performance.
Joshua Gomez.
Joshua Gomez would be a great Dave.
Vic Sahe.
Oh, I think he would maybe be good in the Tracy Morgan role.
Scott Krinsky.
Scott Krinsky. I haven't cast Bo yet, which is maybe Joshua Gomez would be a pretty good Bo.
Interesting.
Scott Krinsky. Okay, do we have a duo? Other the dogs are kind of could be a Jeffster duo, but I feel I stand by Adam Baldwin would be good.
Mm-hmm.
So, Scott Krinsky could be the Gabriel Iglesias dog.
Okay.
He could probably handle that.
Sarah Lancaster.
Sarah Lancaster would be a good. How about Ruth the sheep?
Ryan McPartlin.
Running out of animals here. He could be the goat in the. Well, the goat's really ugly though, so I don't know if that. Oh, he could be the miller.
Huh. Okay.
Or he could be he could be the angel.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay, so then I feel that probably.
Well, we should say Beckman. Who would that be?
Bonita Friedrichsey.
Bonita Friedrichsey could be probably the Oprah camel.
Okay.
And she's pretty wise.
What about Timothy Dalton?
Well, he could also be the Ving Rhames dog. That could be an alternate casting. No, he should be King Herod. That's who he should be.
Gotcha. And then What about Brandon Routh? Last one.
Well, he could be Bo. How about he's Bo?
Okay. All right. So hopefully you, the listener at home, were writing all those down and were able to capture all of Erin's fan casting, because it seems like there was a lot of undoing and redoing and a lot of non-linear casting going on. So
okay. So my question for you.
Okay.
Mary and Joseph in this film.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think their relationship relates to Chuck and Sarah's relationship? Because I think there are parallels.
There are parallels here. I think that there's Joseph and Chuck are two characters who are both average guys thrown into not so average, outstanding circumstances, partially because of the women that are in their lives. Um, so
they struggle with feelings of inferiority.
They struggle with that. Joseph seems to be a little bit more serious than Chuck. Not to say that Chuck's not serious, but he seems to take himself a little bit more seriously. I would say that Chuck and Sarah's relationship is probably a little bit stronger because their relationship is rooted in friendship, whereas Joseph and Mary seem to kind of have a strangers who were decided to wed. I don't know the exact backstory between them, but it seems a little bit more transactional there. So,
yeah, they're at the beginning of their relationship, whereas where we are in Chuck and Sarah have been in a relationship for 4 seasons. So it's not to say that Mary and Joseph won't grow closer, but I feel like this movie is like the beginning of their love story. The director and writer's intention seems to be they make a lot of references to Mary and Joseph both have things that they need to learn on this journey in order to have a successful relationship and to be successful human beings. I feel like Joseph has a lot more to learn. I feel like he's kind of like, he's not really, there's not a lot of conflict in this movie, so he's not like an antagonistic force exactly, but like he has to learn to kind of like go with the flow, and that like he has like greatness, heroism thrust upon him, and I feel like that does kind of relate to Chuck.
Yes. Which seems
I wonder if he
be the kind of Zachary Levi's forte of these characters, because it's like Shazam and then his character in Tangled, which we've never viewed or discussed, but I imagine that was something that
we should do that
on
the
point. Horizon.
Yeah.
Because, when you think of animated Zachary Levi vehicles, you think of The Star and then you think of Tangled.
Yes, of course. And then later we can do his run on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
So now for this segment that we have coming up, we have this segment that we do every time on Go the Star Yourself. It's called Jesus, Mary, Joseph, where we pick one part of this episode that we'd like to marry, and one part of this episode, I guess specifically Joseph's or Zachary Levi's performance as Joseph and our thoughts about it. So Erin, what would you like to marry?
So my Mary, as I mentioned here at the beginning of this episode, I had some feelings of contention about 9 months BC, but I'm ultimately coming down on the side of, I think that's a pretty hilarious bit, and I would like to marry it.
I also would like to marry, I guess, the 2 bits that I thought were actually legitimately funny in this movie. The first one that made me laugh out loud was when Ruth the sheep does her impression of a dog. And there's she makes a very weird face, and there's this very jarring close up on her face as she's doing it. I thought that was very weird, and I enjoyed that. And the other thing I thought was funny was that when the mouse or whatever the pygmy creature,
Jeroba,
she's voiced by Kristen Chenoweth, and there's a scene where she's recounting to other animals how she thought that the angel Gabriel was talking to her about carrying the Son of God. And I thought that was a kind of a funny bit that
that
she
is
was
funny.
Telling a joke about that, and it doesn't land because everyone's distracted. So she's upset that joke didn't work. Yeah. So
that was cute.
I appreciated that. I thought it was cute.
Yeah.
So Joseph, what do you think? Zachary Levi.
So this is a tough one. I mean, I'm always excited to see or hear, in this case, Zachary Levi. I think that he did a good vocal performance. The character of Joseph, again, is sexually threatened by a donkey, so it is a little bit weird. I don't think that was Zachary Levi's fault. I think that is more a writing issue. I think that he sold that. I believe that he was threatened by a donkey. I think that I don't know if he was directly drawing on the things that we mentioned that have kind of crossover appeal with Chuck, but I feel like there is some of that, he does a good job of having greatness thrust upon him. He doesn't know what to do. He has to take some time to come to terms with everything, and then ultimately he handles it. So I don't think he did better or worse than the majority of the other actors in this film. So that is what I will say. Yeah,
I pretty much agree. I think that, like you were saying, Joseph is one of the few characters who seemingly face some kind of personal struggle in this film.
Yeah.
So that would be one struggle in this movie, or one kind of personal conflict. So that means that he kind of had at least some kind of emotional arc, or that he had some kind of character development where he was different at the end of the movie than he was at the beginning.
Yeah.
So although the material didn't give Zachary Levi a ton to work with, he handled it fine. It was
Yeah.
as well as you could with the role. So moving on, we are going to do the the star scale, where we assign 0 through 5 stars to this viewing of the star based on how much we like it.
Weirdly, it has become kind of like normal. Like, usually you give movies stars, and in a roundabout way, we have come to giving this movie a star.
Yes. How many stars would you like to give this movie?
I'm gonna give this movie a whopping 2 stars.
Wow.
I thought that the majority of it just made me uncomfortable. I would say it felt weirdly like, I think I have no problem, like, if you are a Christian and you viewed this movie or are showing this movie to your kids as like part of the in the way that you would view VeggieTales, like just kind of like a nice introduction to the story of the Nativity. Like, I have no problem with that, but for me, it felt kind of like a little verging on propaganda. It was just a little uncomfortable for me. I think that it's a little bit, there's a lot of talk about the production of this movie where they're saying like, oh, I can't believe this movie was never made, which I agree with.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that this movie wasn't made in the 90s when, and obviously they were trying to make it in the 90s, so that makes sense. But, it just feels weird for, like, 2017. Like, there's no, like, problems with it. Like, it's not, like, offensive in any way. It's just kind of, like, odd to have this kind of movie existing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from a story perspective, like, the performances are all decent. I think all of the voice performances, all of, like, the animation looks good, the donkey's cute, the people are cute, like, we've talked about the, like, racial issues, but, like, everybody looks fine, compared to watching The Christmas Carol right before. Like, this looked great. But there isn't really any conflict. The conflict that does exist is really jarring. The sexual threatening by a donkey is weird. So all of those things detract from it. I didn't fall asleep. I didn't, like, hate it. It was kind of a fun way to spend my, it was only an hour and a half, less than an hour and a half, so that was great. So I feel like that's going to be my review of it. It's like, it's an hour and 20 minutes. What about you?
So, as I said before, I am clearly not in the audience for the movie. You were not in the audience for this movie.
No.
It was not made for us. When animated movies work well, they are able to appeal to both kids and adults in different ways, which I think is something that Pixar does well.
Yeah.
And maybe this movie does work for some adults, but to me, this is just a flimsy, cliche-riddled cash grab. I had, the one legitimate laugh the entire time, and then found the whole other thing to be completely predictable. I had about as much fun watching this movie as I did when I attended church as a child, which is to say, no fun at all. Like I said, I've never seen VeggieTales before, and thank God for that. But I'm assuming that they are pretty similar to this movie. Even though I ended up watching this movie with commercials, it felt super quick, like you said.
Oh my God, you watched it with commercials?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
Maybe because all the characters overcome any obstacles presented to them with ease and in a matter of seconds. And there's, like, the structuring is very weird. Like we said, we thought the third act was happening when it wasn't, or maybe it did. It wasn't really clear. Yeah. The weird juxtaposition between how effortless and cute the characters are with the fact that the villain is trying to murder a pregnant woman with a machete, we've talked about, doesn't really make sense. Felt like that was pretty significant disconnect there. And I know when we had watched Shazam last year, I described it as kind of like a high budget Disney Channel original movie. I would like to describe The Star as the movie that Sunday school teachers put on the day before Christmas, and that none of the kids pay attention to because they're so excited about Christmas and Christmas break. And even though, like I said, I streamed this movie using FX Now, I could almost hear the sound of children loudly talking and playing over this movie, followed by the temporary silence when the teacher tells them to quiet down, and then they get loud again, and then the teacher just totally gives up, and that just goes on for the rest of the movie. I would say that it's probably a generous assumption that this movie could hold even the best natured child's attention. I feel like if you were a kid watching this, you'd have to be like really little, because otherwise it would not hold your attention. And so with all that being said, this movie is focused on 1 star and 1 star only. And so am I. I give this movie 1 star, the star. I'm going to give it the Christmas star, to be exact, which is one of, I think, the best stars, in my opinion. It's not the best star, since I think the sun is the best star, since it powers all life on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's also not the second best star, because I think that's Alpha Centauri, which is an awesome name. Also a relatively close star to our solar system in the universe. Mm-hmm. So the Christmas star, 3rd best star. That's what I'm giving this movie.
Okay, great.
So I think we've learned a lot about ourselves this week, but we also have our lesson of the week. Erin, what did you learn?
I think that people are going to remember this night. What happened around this manger will be celebrated for thousands of years. Families will come together and exchange presents and sing carols, all to remember the grace of this moment that we are witnessing right now.
Was that original?
That's what the Oprah Camel says at the end of this movie.
Thank you, Oprah.
What about you?
Well, this week, Erin, I can tell you what Christmas is all about. And then there were, in the same country, shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace and goodwill towards men.
Oh, was that original?
Yeah, it was definitely original.
Off the dome. That was incredible,
Yeah,
Chris.
it was, that is, of course, Linus's speech from A Charlie Brown Christmas, which you did not seem to recognize, and I do not blame you, because I did not recognize it either until I Googled it and found it myself.
I just assumed it was from the Bible.
It might be. I don't know where Linus got it from.
I mean, I think it is. I think it is from the Bible. Because in this interview with Lights Camera Jackson, he says, in A Charlie Brown Christmas, Linus literally quotes the Bible. A lot of people say that they just couldn't make a special like that these days, because political correctness.
I don't care for Charlie Brown Christmas either, so maybe, yeah, I don't know. It's just not for me. It's not for me. But
you know, I don't really like it either. I like Rudolph. I don't really like the Grinch. I like the, did you see the Matthew Morrison Grinch Live?
I saw that it exists. I do not have plans of watching it.
I did like the Jim Carrey Grinch when I was a child. I don't know if I would like it now, but I kind of like it in like a meme capacity. Want to rank Christmas movies while we're here?
Which ones?
Just any of them. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Like of the like claymation special.
No,
variety?
just any Christmas
Jesus.
movie.
Okay. Well, I like Christmas Vacation. Is always one of my favorites. I like.
My parents watched that last night. My mom said, "I hate this movie." I've never seen it. I like Jingle All the Way.
I've never seen that.
I think that's a good one.
I think Elf is obviously the new millennium classic.
I don't really like.
You don't like Elf?
Oh, well, we've talked about how I like A Christmas Story, and you hate A Christmas Story.
Yeah, I don't like Christmas Story.
I feel like there is one that I really. Oh, you know what's a really good? Prancer is really good.
Oh, you know what's actually a really good one that we should actually watch together sometime? The Star. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's with Zachary Levi.
What's it about?
It's
okay.
Yeah, it's about it's basically like the nativity story where it's told through the perspective of the animals.
Ooh, that's interesting. I can't believe no one's ever made that before.
No, it's very clever, and there's really not, it's pretty inoffensive, aside from there's some things that you might be kind of thrown off by. But it's good if you don't like humor or like drama or anything. It's like,
okay, well, I hate those things.
Yeah,
that's why I watch Chuck. Just kidding.
How dare you say that about Chuck?
We made a lot of like blatantly like not anti-religious, but non-religious comments in this episode. But the thing that's going to get our fans just boycotting us forever is when I insulted Chuck just now.
And maybe that is the true meaning of the holidays. So I hope that you have a nice holiday, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you celebrate, whoever you're celebrating it with this year. I hope that you have a nice time, that you're staying safe, and I wish you the best. Thank you for listening. This has been fun. I enjoy doing the Christmas special. My name is Chris Gillespie, reminding you that food, specifically holiday food, maybe some cookies, maybe some hot cocoa, maybe whatever else you're having on the holidays, candy canes, maybe, all that stuff is sexy.
And my name is Erin Arata, letting you know that as Mary and Joseph learn in The Star, anything is possible.
Anything.
If you believe. Well, I mean, it's possible whether or not you believe, but that's a different movie. I think that's the Prince of Egypt. The Priest of Egypt.
Check it out. The Priest of Egypt, now on Netflix. Happy holidays. Happy holidays. Happy holidays. Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
To you.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. As always, a big thanks to the artist Hatakoa and the fine folks at freemusicarchive.org for providing us with our theme song, Warm Up. If you want to drop us a line, you can reach us at GoChuckYourselfPodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Go Chuck Yourself on your preferred podcast platform. New episodes come out every Monday morning, and you do not want to miss a new episode. Thanks again. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.